we found a way for universities and university students to decrease dropout rate, increase GPA, and increase well-being. We have data of over 15,000 students now that shows just that. We had in our school, the Rotterdam School of Management, a huge problem. We had a 50% dropout rate of our first year students. So after the first year we had only half of our students left. And this was such a big problem, and other European schools had the same. So as the school was even raising the bar, I thought it would be very important to find a solution for this problem. So I did my homework and I found that there was an intervention that can help our students. And it involves positive psychology and goal setting. Goal setting is a theory that has been around since the 1960s of last century. And it's about specific goals, and then you write a path towards those goals and you will reach them. But we were thinking a little bit bigger. Why don't we let our students write about life goals? Big goals that they can achieve, and maybe that will help them too. So I'm working with Edwin Locke and Gary Latten to publish about these results, but I'm going to tell you today as well. And it involves three things, 3 P's. Passion, plan, and make it public. Finding your values and passion is not the result of goal setting, but you have to start with it. So this is the basic. Finding values and passion. Then you make a plan to achieve it, and then you make it public. Sounds easy, right? So let's see what we can do today. Starting with values and passion. So this picture went viral a couple of years ago. It's a homeless boy making his homework at the light of McDonald's. He doesn't have a father. His father died a couple of years ago, and his mother makes less than $2 a day in a grocery store. And while most of the kids of his age in similar circumstances at the Philippines, they are begging on the streets to raise the family income a little bit, this boy chose a different route. He said he wanted to do his education, and he inspired a lot of people by this picture. But what many people didn't know was that this boy had a goal. He wanted to become a policeman and make the streets a little bit safer. And that made him very resourceful. That's why he found a way to do his homework with only one pencil and only one piece of paper. And what we noticed is many of us, but also our students at the Rotterdam School of Management, have a problem in finding their goals. They have too many goals. They have conflicting goals. They have goals that their parents set for them. They say, well, why don't you go and study management or economics or anything else? And they also have a problem because they sometimes choose the study because their friends are going to the Rotterdam School of Management. So this is not easy to find your goals. So I found an intervention that could help do just that. And as I was discussing with program management that we should implement it for our students, because it was an evidence-based and scalable intervention, and we have about 1,500 students each year that come into our school, I thought, well, maybe I should do it first myself and see what it's like, and if it maybe can help me as well. So my first goal I set was becoming a professor. And this is actually a picture from my inaugural speech in 2017. And my second goal was to try to have a kid. And this is actually my son. So this second goal also worked out. Of course you cannot control everything, but he is still stealing my new scientist. My third goal was to become a world champion in Taekwondo. That didn't happen yet. I came close, but this is still a goal on my list, in the veteran division, of course, because I'm getting a little bit older. And now I also have a fourth goal, having a good work-life balance. Obviously that also didn't work out, especially with these 3 goals having first. So what do our students have? So I looked at the goals of our students and I found out that a lot of them wanted to become rich. Of course, this is a management school, so there's no surprise there. They want to get married. They want to travel the world. They want to have a house and kids. They want to learn languages. And one of them even said, I want to adopt a Labrador. So what does this intervention look like? Well, we ask students a lot of questions and they have to write about them. So there's something about the act of writing it down and seeing it in front of you that's really important in this intervention. So one of the questions is, what did you like to do as a kid? Write about it for 2 minutes. What do you want to do in your career? Are there any habits you would like to change? I'm sure there are here many people who would like to change 1 or 2 habits. What do you want to do in your leisure time? And then as a kind of a final question, we ask them, we want you to dream. Think about if there are no constraints at all. What would you do? What would your ideal life look like? So write about it for 15 minutes and dream about this life. It can be anything you can think of, as long as you're not harming anybody else. And then we also ask them to write about, what if you don't change anything? If everything stays the same, exactly as it is right now, in 5 to 10 years, what would your life look like? So it's really reflecting on this, writing about this for about 1 hour, 1.5 hours. That's really helpful. So our students then come to realize that there is some kind of an integrated identity to be gained by this goal setting. So there's an ideal self, and from this ideal self, top down, they can make goals. So maybe if your ideal self also is, I want to be a healthy person, I want to do something for the world, but I need to be healthy as well, then some lower order goals follow from that. So this is how it works. But there is a problem. Just finding the why won't get you there. If you know what your values and passions are, so today you're here and you want to get from A to B, how do you get there? So you need to find a way to make your dreams come true, right? So then we move from a passion to a plan. So you need to figure out how to make it happen. What we ask students to do is, okay, now you've wrote about your ideal self, about your ideal life. I want you to extract a couple of goals, like say 6 goals from that. You write them down and then you order them. What is my most important goal? This is the goal you should spend most time on. And then they think about, okay, but what if I reach this goal? Maybe if I become a world champion in Taekwondo, maybe people won't like it anymore, or my peers won't like me anymore because I don't have time for them. So there's downsides to each goal that you set for yourself and the combination of goals that you set for yourself. So we want them to write about that. Also if-then plans. If this happens, I will do this. So for instance, if a fellow student asks me to drink a beer on the day of the exam or the day before the exam, I will say no, I will drink a beer with you after the exam. And this will probably make a big difference. It's a small decision with possibly big consequences. So that's what we ask them to do in this second part. Because if you have a goal without a plan, it's just a wish. And then we give them this little card with their top 3 goals. And now I randomly put these goals here, and then be rich, get married and adopt a Labrador all of a sudden make a little bit of sense. But I must also add, these are management students, but they also have very lofty societal goals. So for instance, I can ask a student, why do you want to become rich? Why is this an important goal for you? And then a student said to me, well, it's because I want to be rich because I want to reform the educational system in Brazil. This was a student from Brazil. So he wanted to be rich, but he had also a very nice societal goal with this. But if you've made your plan, it's still not enough. There's a third part. And the third part is making it public. Making it public can be very scary. Public commitment is good because people will remind you of your goals, but now I've told everyone I want to become a world champion in Taekwondo, and I feel the pressure that I should train more often, and people may ask me, did you already reach your goal? It's a little bit scary, but it's also been shown to be very effective. If you make it public, then your commitment towards your goal is higher, and your goal attainment will also go up. So there's research that also shows this. So what does this third part look like in our school? For instance, this is one of my team members, but all of our students, we have over 15,000 I will statements now. I will improve education through goal setting. And I also had to make, of course, my I will statement. So I made an I will statement back in 2011, and that was, I will enhance study success at RSM. However, the study success went up by over 20%. So I thought, well, maybe I've reached this goal, so I made a new goal setting program. And I thought, I want 1 million people to profit from this intervention. And this was my new goal. I will inspire people to find their ikigai. And ikigai is a Japanese word for purpose in life, or reason to get up in the morning. So this is the motivation that you have as a person. And what we also find is that setting goals also has a bonus to it. You will experience more meaning in life. And even doing, let's say you put on your goal, I want to do some more sports, that will help you get more meaning as well. And what we also found was really interesting, it didn't matter what kind of goal students set. If they set an educational goal or a non-educational goal, it didn't matter. No matter what goals they set, the whole cohort went up by over 20%, and the dropout rates went down by over 20%. But there was also something that we noticed. Students who only do part of the intervention aren't successful at all. So what we did, they can of course not participate in the intervention, although it was part of a course. So we made it part of a course, because if you ask a student, oh, here is an intervention, it's going to work really well for you, but it's voluntary. Then you can guess how many students will do it. And I tried that once, and it's about 5 to 10%. And these are the best students. So we said, okay, this is part of a course, we want you to do it. There's not a huge incentive if they don't, or a huge problem if they don't. But what we found is that if they don't do it, it was very predictive for students who would drop out in the study and did not so well. Then students who did only one part, the bar chart was a little bit higher. And students who did all 3 parts, these were the best performing students at the end of the year. So it was also very predictive for students who would not make it through the study. And this of course has to do, if you don't even do a little assignment at the beginning of the year, then how well will you do in the end? What we also found is that the number of words, I was like, I want to see if the students who write more, do they do better? We found that students who write more do better. Just simply counting the words. But we also looked at the quantity and the quality. So the quantity of the goals that they set, the quantities of the obstacles that they defined, and the quantity of the if-then plans that they made were important, but also the quality. So for instance, there were students who said, well, I want to do better in the study. And so I didn't have to do much when I was still in back the days in school, in college. And so now I really need to work harder, I think. That's a very general goal, but students who write really specific about this, like for instance was a student who said, I want to play football, and I'm going to do that 3 times a week on Monday, Wednesday and Friday from 7 till 9 p.m. So that's all very, very specific, and we found differences between those students. So the number of words, the number of parts they did, the quantity and the quality was important. And how does it work? So what happens is if people have their values and passion, they also are more likely to change their habits. And this will lead in the end in an upward spiral towards their ideal self. And we know broaden and build theory from Barbara Fredrickson has been very important theory in stating if you change only small things and small steps, you get positively rewarded and positive experiences. And this will set you on a path onto an upward spiral. What's also a bonus is if you have more purpose, you will experience less anxiety. Every human being experiences anxiety from now and then. But just doing sports or setting goals will help you lessen the anxiety and find more meaning and purpose. So this will set you on a fast track towards reaching your goals. So it's a really scalable intervention that can help millions of people reach their goals because they know what they are. So what I think is important, that it's not only for university students, but it's for everyone. Everyone could do this. Well, maybe not very small kids, because the other day I asked my 4-year-old who didn't want to go to school, I said, oh, maybe goal setting is a good idea for him. I'll ask him what he wants to be when he grows up. And he said, I want to be a firefighter. I'm like, good, then you need to go to school. And then he said, I don't want to be a firefighter then. So, and then I was, of course, a bit cruel mummy, and I said, you go to school anyway. This is how it's worked when you're 4 years old. And there's also one thing that is a problem. Perfectionism. If you're overly perfectionistic and you beat yourself up about every mistake, every little mistake, then you're bound to procrastinate towards your goals. Because, you know, if you set the bar so high for yourself, that can be really a problem. So, if you want to reach your goals, start small and make many mistakes and learn from them. That would be a very important tip. So think big, dream big, but in the end, start small. So for instance, if you think, oh, I don't have time to do any sports. I have only 30 minutes a day and I want to watch television in these 30 minutes, which is totally defendable, right? And then I would say, why don't you start moving for 1 minute in front of the television every day? Just moving. It's easy, we can all do that, right? That's how it started 30 years ago. So, how does it work? You have more influence than you think. You're at the helm. And yes, of course there are circumstances. Everybody has circumstances. But don't try to ask for help. Other people will like to help other people, especially if they see that they're reaching for their goal and they're really trying their utmost to reach their goals. I've experienced it myself. On my way to reach my goals, I've had help from many, many people. And I'm really grateful for them. But people like to help other people as well. So don't bother to ask. I have a dream. I would like millions of people to profit from this intervention. And as for Daniel, I think many people saw this picture and McDonald's chipped in and gave him a scholarship. Even the local police force raised money to pay for his education. And only yesterday I realized that he doesn't even have a chair to sit on. I didn't see that before somehow. So what are you going to do? Are you going to carve out time to make sure you will reach your goals and you will find your values and passion? Are you going to send your spouse on a long weekend and say, okay, now I have the home for myself and I'm going to write about my own goals? How often do we take really the time to think what we want to do in life and to find meaning in life? And I hope you will all start to do this and all find more meaning and purpose in life. Thank you.